produce through our CSA program. CSA stands for Community Supported Agriculture. And we basically give people in the community the option to basically buy a share of the farm, and each week you will come to the farm and receive a bag of produce.
We're at the PR Harris Food Hub in Anacostia State. It's a 5,000 square foot hydroponic and aquaponic facility where we collect data to try to assess the business viability of a small scale food production site like this, and then distribute food to the community. This is a historic food desert, and so it's really important to try to give people around here access to fresh vegetables and fruits that they may not otherwise be able to get their hands on.
No matter who you are, like, your crops can fail, so you need to have another way to bring in resources. Events here, we want to do something with value-added products.
This is Farmer Henry Browne, age 38, father of 3 children, farming 40 acres. This year, Henry Browne is growing more on his farm than ever before. And to get their work done these fine summer days, he and his family have to be up with the sun. This is young Henry doing the milking. This year, for the first time, they have a cow. And young Henry is raising the calf as his own. So Farmer Browne thought if peanuts were really needed, he'd try 15 acres of them. Sort of figured, too, it would be good for a man to try his hand at a new kind of crop. Yes, a good farmer, with respect for his land and the job it has to do. Last fall, he put lime and phosphate on 20 acres of the poorest part of his farm. And now both he and his country will benefit from the better crop he'll harvest. If the weather holds, Henry figures on making a really fine crop of peanuts. Before going out to help with the cotton chopping, Mother tends her garden a bit. There's not much here that will be sold, but there's a lot here that will be eaten this summer, and some that's going to be put away for next winter. No, sir, the Browns won't be depending on a grocery store. They'll leave canned things for people in cities who just can't grow their own vegetables. Sister's a pretty good farmer, too. She certainly works hard tending her chickens. Must be worth the trouble, though, because she's got a mighty healthy flock.
Gee, that was a really inspirational film about how farming helped the country during wartime. Until watching that film, I thought the only purpose of farming was to sell produce. Now wondering if I should think about expanding the purpose of my new farm business. I'm curious about multi-purpose farms in other urban areas.
We grow over 300 varieties of crops, all of which is made available for free to anybody who wants it using a We Pick policy. Over the last, 4 years, we've grown over 50,000 pounds of produce that's gone to over 2,000 households within 2 square miles of the farm. We also supply some local food pantries, churches, and shelters. And then I think about 5% of our overall produce we sell to specialty vendors like restaurants. The vast majority of our produce just goes for free to individual households in the area. Part of our goals towards being self-sustaining, that building right behind me, actually, we're converting into a community resource center that will have a for-profit farm-to-table cafe built into it. You know, there's the value-added product market is extremely promising economically for urban agriculture. The sort of return on investment, that margin, it's dramatically higher than if you're selling vegetables as vegetables. If you're turning them into, packaged goods, prepared foods on site, the sort of potential for revenue that generates is dramatic.
It's definitely part of the food movement, but it's to address food apartheid. So making this food available to the community, initially making most of the food free to the community where they can pick at their own time. And also it's a training ground building these raised bed boxes is a way to teach vocational skills to the youth. It's a way to tie in science and STEM into there. We have everything from rainwater catchment systems to building solar panels on top of the aquaponics. This is a building project here that we're doing is a earthen brick oven.
Like a pizza oven?
Yeah, pizza oven.
I see.
An earthen
Is
oven.
there pizza in your future?
Pizza, baked bread. You know, we saw this at another farm. We went to Detroit, and it was a real nice thing. They did something with the children for Earth Day. They made pizza and made bread. So it's something that we could also utilize. This is the future home of our biocellar. See here, we'll have the same sort of setup with polycarbonate glass facing the south side of this, and sun shining down and utilizing the cellar as grow beds. We would do things like aquaponics and different sorts of plants, and we'll be able to extend our growing season, possibly even doing some tropical fruit trees. Learn about culinary arts, health and wellness, and urban agriculture, as well as any other program we do here like literacy or tutoring. What we're doing here is we're building community. It's self-empowerment.
So we and others are growing food to provide fresh produce in Homewood. There isn't a grocery store in Homewood. There hasn't been one since the 1990s. There are only corner stores where the food is expensive and often unhealthy. So we're just one organization is helping to remedy this food apartheid issue in Homewood. So our hoop house, we're very excited about it. It's our first one. We're going to have others, and we'll be able to grow food all year long there, even in the wintertime because of the compost method that we're using. So we can grow hardy vegetables like greens and cabbage and lettuce there. Rounded mobile toolbox was excellent because we had to get weeds cut down in the ground level, and that's what we used it for one of our work days. You call or you email and see if your date that you want is available, and they come on a Friday or a Saturday, and you meet them, and you sign some waivers and forms, and you tell them what you want to do and go over with your team. And it's a lot of help. They have beautiful tools, they're well kept and taken care of, and they even get out there and help you with the work too. So that's what it looks like. I'm really grateful for the Pittsburgh Mobile Toolbox because it helps a lot of communities, especially underserved communities where they wouldn't most likely be able to afford tools.
We source, glean, and distribute excess fruits and vegetables all over San Diego County and distribute those to the food insecure. Gleaning has a lot of history, but what you really need to know basically is that gleaning is the idea that those who have surplus crops share with those who don't. And what we're doing here, we're bringing gleaning into the 21st century. So we are using that same concept of harvesting excess and bringing it to those in need. If you live in an area that has a long growing season like I do in San Diego, you know how much of the fruit around you is going to waste, falling on the ground. Actually, 40% of all food is wasted in the US, and that is almost half, while 1 in 6 people is food insecure, which means they do not know where their next meal is coming from. It's a ridiculous and solvable problem, and what we are here to do is to try to solve that by our work with gleaning. What if I were to tell you that there was more than enough food in the US to feed everybody? The problem is not that we don't have enough food, the problem is that we don't have enough access to the food by the people who need it. And what we're trying to do here at Produce Good is to solve that problem, and we are reducing waste and hunger in one sweet step, as we like to say. Our volunteers harvest excess fruit and vegetables from orchards, backyards, and farmers markets, and they take that excess bounty to local food agencies. We work with hundreds of backyard growers, farmers, and volunteers to make this happen. So we also work at 4 farmers markets in San Diego. We collect all the produce that the vendors cannot sell. Our volunteers hand out branded bins to farmers at the end of the market. We collect all of this incredible bounty, and then we transport and deliver to local feeding agencies. Hungry people are receiving nutritious fruits and vegetables that would otherwise go to waste, and the farmers get a tax receipt for their generous donation. These crops took time, water, and love to grow, and the farmers are so happy to be able to have this option to donate their bounty and not let it go to waste. By sourcing, picking, and transporting the fruit in the same community, we are empowering communities to feed themselves. Our decentralized community-based model can be replicated anywhere in the United States where there's trees, farms, and people who want to share their bounty. So if you're interested in starting a gleaning group of your own, you might want to first check to see if there's somebody already out there doing the same thing, because you don't want to double your efforts. So first of all, see if there's an existing group, and then if you can't find one, here are some good tips. First, you identify the grove or the trees or the yard where the fruit is. You need to find out where it's located. Then you want to contact the owner of the trees and make sure that it's okay that you come and pick the fruit. You might want to also explain that there is a Good Samaritan Act, a federal law that protects them from liability so that they can donate in good faith and they don't have to worry about being sued. You also want to make sure that you have a place to distribute the harvest. Unless you're going to be eating it all yourselves, you definitely want to contact a group that can take this excess bounty. I would check local churches, food pantries, shelters. Those are great places to start. Then you need to set up a time and a day for the gleaning, preferably morning. That's usually a good time. You need to be able to let your gleaners know, what day and where to meet. When you get to the property, be very respectful. Remember, this is someone's property. You want to treat it as you would treat your own and leave it as good or better than you found it.
Purpose. Purpose.
Now I give you a half a price for your cotton, not a doggone thing for your seed. That's too bad, too bad. Yes, boy. If I could get 50 cents a day.